Today, New Zealand's total number of COVID-19 cases has increased by 8, made up of 2 new confirmed cases and 6 new probable cases, and all of them are linked to either confirmed cases or known outbreaks. The new combined total of confirmed and probable cases in New Zealand is 1,409. Sadly, there are 2 further deaths to report today. One death occurred in Waikato Hospital. That person was a man in his 90s who died yesterday. He had been living at home with family and was admitted to hospital on Saturday night, very unwell. The man had a connection to the Matamata cluster. While the man's family were not with him when he passed away, staff at Waikato Hospital provided support to the man and his family to care for him in his final days. And sadly, the second death is in a woman in her 80s who died at Burwood Hospital yesterday. She was part of the group of 20 Rosewood residents who were transferred to Burwood on April the 6th. The woman had an underlying health condition. Her family were also not able to be with her, but a staff member at Burwood Hospital was with the woman when she passed away. Sadly, there's now been 7 deaths from the group of Rosewood residents who were moved to Burwood. There are 5 other cases who remain stable at present, but this is a group of frail elderly people. This brings the total number of confirmed COVID-19 deaths in New Zealand to 11. These people and their families will be in the thoughts and prayers of all New Zealanders today, as we are again reminded of the serious threat that COVID-19 poses, particularly for elderly and vulnerable people. We all need to continue to play our part to contribute to the elimination of this virus from New Zealand by staying home, staying in your bubble, breaking the chain of transmission and saving lives. There are now 816 reported cases of COVID-19 who have recovered, an increase of 46 on yesterday. Today we have 14 people in hospital with COVID-19. The total includes 3 people in ICU, 1 each in Middlemore, Dunedin and North Shore hospitals. So that's no change from yesterday. 2 of the ICU patients are in a critical condition, and again that's unchanged from yesterday. There are still 16 significant clusters, no change from yesterday, and 15 more cases have been connected to the clusters, but I have to reiterate that that's because a connection has been made. That's not necessarily new cases. As we go through the process of case investigation, we're able to make the connection to the clusters. And just an update on testing. 4,241 tests were processed yesterday, with a rolling 7-day average of 2,674, giving us a total tests to date of 74,401. New Zealand continues to increase the amount of testing and is expanding the pool of those being tested for COVID-19 to include anyone with respiratory symptoms. We encourage anyone who has COVID-19 symptoms to get tested, and we continue to encourage DHBs to make sure that they're supporting that testing. The level of community transmission in New Zealand is currently low, and most of the cases that have been diagnosed with COVID-19 do have links to overseas travel or close contacts of other cases. DHBs, including in Queenstown, Waikato and Canterbury, are arranging for teams to go out into the communities, including through mobile testing clinics. They are also undertaking targeted testing to provide some further information about community transmission in these regions. Yesterday at Pack and Save in Queenstown, 343 supermarket workers and customers were tested. About half of those tests have already been processed and all are negative to date. Today, a similar approach is being taken in Canterbury, with another 250 people being tested at a supermarket. And in Waikato, there is also asymptomatic testing occurring at supermarkets in 5 towns: Otahanga, Hamilton, Matamata, Cambridge and Te Awamutu. This additional testing and targeted testing will add to the total pool of tests done and provide us with increased confidence in our data, and that will help give us an overall picture of COVID-19 in New Zealand. And lastly, I just want to draw your attention to the Health Research Council, who've today announced funding for researchers from the Medical Research Institute of New Zealand to co-lead 3 internationally significant trials in the fight against COVID-19. The trials will assess potential therapeutic agents to fight COVID-19, including hydroxychloroquine, which is one of a number of drugs which have got attention across the world as potentially a treatment for the virus. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. McElnay. I just want to add the government's sympathies regarding the sad news of these further deaths. The fact that we knew we would lose some New Zealanders to COVID-19 doesn't lessen the shock or the sadness each time it happens, and we send our thoughts to the family and friends of those who have passed. This also serves as a sombre reminder that we need to continue to stay home, to save lives, and to break the chain of transmission. Despite the release yesterday of information about Alert Level 3, it is important to remember that New Zealand is still currently at Alert Level 4, and we must make sure that we are following the rules and guidance for Level 4. Information about what may come next is not an invitation to adopt those Level 3 measures yet. So please remember, stay local. Don't visit others, and don't do anything that could put you in danger and needing rescue. Going hard and going early has put us in a good position. Things could have been very, very different, so let's not waste this chance. As you know, Cabinet will meet on Monday to discuss and decide whether to extend the Level 4 timeframe from midnight on Wednesday, or whether the country or some of it will move to Level 3. I want to say 2 things about this. First, as the Prime Minister made very clear yesterday, Level 3 is not markedly different from Level 4. It does allow more businesses to open safely as we position the economy for recovery and keep New Zealanders in jobs, but it is not a return to pre-COVID days. We are some time away from that. As we work through our decision, I note the news overnight that the UK government extended its lockdown for a further 3 weeks. Other countries have made similar decisions, such as France, Australia, India and Japan. None of that is intended to signal Monday's decision. I share it with you simply as a reminder that this is a long game, a marathon, not a short sprint. My second point is that whether we remain at Level 4 or move to Level 3, government support for businesses and assistance for workers remains vital and will continue. It will cushion the economic hit, and it will help keep New Zealanders in jobs and our businesses viable. On that point, may I also note that our response has differed to that of some overseas governments, in that a large part of the money that we are investing is already out the door and in people's pockets and bank accounts. It's been paid for 12 weeks up front, so no matter where we are, that money is reaching people. As an aside, and to throw back to my earlier comments about the importance of staying home to save lives, I'd note that the Treasury scenarios released earlier this week also reflected that a little longer now spent at Level 4 or Level 3 is ultimately better for the economy than an early exit and a potential return to lockdown later on. So it's clear to me that from both a health and economic perspective, what we're doing is working, and I urge everyone to continue that work. There's more mahi to do. Lastly, before I take your questions, and as some of you may have already seen, the Treasury has done as it said it would and released its weekly economic update today and an accompanying dashboard of high-frequency economic indicators. These indicators cover the underlying state of sectors in the economy like transportation and freight movement, consumer spending and trade. The dashboard also contains information on the wage subsidy scheme and the MSD job seeker support payments. The government is trying to play a role here in making sure that data like this is available to support decision-making and independent analysis. The Treasury is working to constantly update its weekly dashboard as more data sets become available, both from government and private sector sources. To end, I think it's worth acknowledging again that the wage subsidy is doing its job to protect jobs and help businesses and workers stay connected through the lockdown. To date, the subsidy has paid out $9.9 billion since we announced it on March 17th and is protecting the jobs and incomes of 1.6 million workers. In comparison, there are roughly 23,000 new people on job seeker support over that time. That represents about 1.5% of the amount of workers being covered by the wage subsidy. This shows that our action to move early and get money out the door to support businesses and workers was the right one.